So, my background is in neuroscience and aerospace engineering. I self-identify as a biomedical engineer. I've been running an R&D tech company for over 20 years. So I think of myself as an entrepreneur, as an inventor, as a neuroscientist. And I'm actually writing a book now called Inventing the Future: Stories from a Techno-Optimist. And so for me, technology has always been a bridge between what people can do and what they want to do. And so I'll talk a little bit generally about how I talk about technology, and then I'll talk a little bit specifically when I frame that in terms of keeping our brains healthy, or neuroscience. So, we've all heard of these emerging technologies. We hear about artificial intelligence and robotics, augmented reality, all of these different things. These are really just tools, and they're tools for solving problems. But unfortunately, they get kind of a bad rap in some ways. So this is a cartoon. I'm the surgery robot. I'll be doing your surgery in the morning. We hear sort of news media framing weird expectations, unrealistic expectations, scary expectations. So I really like to bring it back to, maybe what would be a useful thing for technology to do. The heck with this, let's go fishing. So at long last, true artificial intelligence. I mean, again, it's this idea that technology should be enabling us to be better humans. So trying to flip that now into, what about when we're talking about neuroscience and brain health? Again, even middle schoolers have heard about a lot of these things, especially coming out of the pandemic. Depression, a lot of people have heard of Alzheimer's. I do a lot of work in Alzheimer's, which is why that ends up being the bigger one on this. But concussion, sports concussion, all of these things affect brain health, both at a cognitive level as also mental health. So a great way to frame this is, well, what do brains need to be healthy? And it's actually pretty intuitive. They need physical activity, they need, oxygen, they need good nutrition, they need less stress, they need novelty, learning, and we need sleep, rest. So these are all very tangible things that I think, anyone can really relate to. And then the question becomes, so how does technology enable those basic things? And, you can slice technology lots of different ways. I mean, these are, Pokemon Go, you might recognize from the middle. I mean, it got kids out in the park. Like, it was crazy that, that the app, people were still on their phones, but they were going and looking for these, augmented reality objects. And I'll talk about some of these other technologies in a minute, but just the idea, how can we actually use all these technologies to enable those very basic things, sleep and nutrition and physical activity, learning. And now this is the entrepreneur in me, where I think, okay, so what's the need? We need to sleep more. Okay, what's the market readiness? Well, lots of people have sleep problems. So, we need to sort of figure out, how many people, who are the people who have sleep problems? And then what is the mature technology that could facilitate that? And maybe you've seen some of the wearables that tell you about your sleep quality, or any of the, so maybe it's to give you feedback on your sleep quality so you can try and figure out what helps you get better sleep. But really, it's this trying to figure out this intersection, and this is sort of invention and entrepreneurism. What's the need? What's the maturity of the technology? And what's the market readiness? And sometimes that just means, how much money is it going to take to actually implement the solution? And I know I'm going pretty fast, so just, stop me if you need anything. But so 3 technology trends that I really think about in terms of this framework of what's the problem, how can technology help, and in terms of what the student of the future and what the workforce of the future will look like. Human enhancement, Internet of Things and people, and then augmented reality. And I just have one slide on each, just to give you a sense of what I mean. When I talk about human enhancement, I think of the human as an information processor. We take in information, we process it, and then we act on it. So human enhancement can happen anywhere in that cycle. Maybe we are better at sensing information through, custom contact lenses, or custom, or not even custom, just contact lenses, or earphones, these dubs. I don't even think they stayed on the market, but they were like noise cancellation, consumer earbuds. And then anywhere from then, how do we give ourselves feedback, whether it's meditations that we're better processing, or how do we enhance our brain function? There's lots of off-the-shelf products now. There's Emotive and Muse, which give you biofeedback to help you either meditate, calm, lower stress. And then action. I mean, that could be anything from, say, a low-tech gripper to reach something high, or it could be a high-tech prosthetic. But just this concept of using technology for human enhancement is just kind of a general theme that I'm very interested in. Internet of Things. We probably have all heard of the Internet of Things. Usually you think of things connecting to things, but what I always like to say, an Internet of Things in people, because there's always a human in the loop somehow, somewhere, that is accessing that technology. And of course, with all wearables and smartphones, that's an obvious connection to the Internet of Things in people. We're connecting our house, we're operating our Sonos speakers, we're operating our air conditioning, our Nest doorbell, all of those things, Internet of Things in people. Oh, here's just some examples of that. I mean, Alexa is a perfect example. And then, of course, we have medical applications. We have, medical technology that are on our smartphone that can give can measure heart to see if there's atrial fibrillation. It just goes right on a smartphone. There's robotic assistants, sort of the next version of Alexa. There's the Apple Watch, which is a great example of that. Then finally, there's augmented reality. I mentioned Pokemon Go. There's also filters. These are actually my two kids, just using some filters on, I think it was Instagram or Snapchat. I don't even know which ones, but this concept that we actually have, we have the ability to merge the physical and digital world, and that's only going to become even greater, especially after what we've been through this year. It's going to be in terms of how we design products, how we work together in teams, how we move about the world. I mean, this next generation of augmented reality, I think that's really going to change. It's just like the smartphone changed our world. I mean, this type of technology and how we interact with the world is really going to change things. More augmented reality learning. So the question is, what is the workforce of the future? The employee of the month, the robot want it again? No, that's not actually the workforce of the future. As technology changes, so do we. What is the superpower of Gen Z going to be? These kids who are growing up with all this technology. They are digital collaboraters. That's what I think their superpower is. They're enhanced, human enhancement, connected, Internet of Humans and Things, and the convergence, the physical digital convergence. So I think that's the superpower of Gen Z. Now, what I'd love to have the discussion with you as teachers, so if you believe what I've just told you in 10 minutes or less, how does that affect how we use technology, and how do we work with these students, and how do we get them in STEM, or at least technology, using technology for good? I don't think they all need to be engineers, but they're all going to be using technology, and they need to use technology for good. So that's where I just wanted to frame the discussion. And as Koshi said, it's a discussion that this is just the start of. I look forward to having that discussion over the next year, whatever that may look like. I can give you, you can take a screenshot, or I can certainly send you some of these, but these were just some of the resources. The first two that I bolded are ones that I think well, the first one you're familiar with, the If Then collection. And then the Kid Museum is the one that I talked about, where they have a virtual maker playground. We did a Maker Girls series, in part funded by the If Then initiative. That was my project this year as an ambassador. And so we have a whole Maker Girls segment for middle school girls. And with that, there's my email, and happy to chat a bit.